All right, we're getting into Strand 2, Standard 1. This is how to become an entrepreneur. You're supposed to understand idea generation, innovation, and problem solving. Now, I've got a YouTube video of 5 famous entrepreneurs that I show you, but I think I'll wait until the end. One of the great things about becoming an entrepreneur is that anyone can do it. Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, and Mark Zuckerberg were in college when they started Apple, Microsoft, and Facebook, respectively. The world is littered with entrepreneurs you never heard of who had an idea and turned it into a thriving, profitable business. As I've said before, if you just drive down the street, you look left and right, and there are businesses everywhere, there are billboards everywhere, and those all represent someone that started up a business as an entrepreneur. So anytime someone says, oh, that's risky, well, that's great. So they feel safe being an employee. I mean, come on, I understand that, I'm a teacher. But someone has to employ them. So it says the world is riddled, right? What did it say? Littered. Riddled would have worked too. The world is littered with entrepreneurs who you've never heard of, who had an idea. Just everything that's going on in your life started with an entrepreneur. Becoming an entrepreneur isn't hard, but it is work and requires the personal characteristics already mentioned. We talked about that in the last one, along with other steps including a great idea. We came up with another word for that, a great IKEA. So IKEA is an entrepreneurial effort out of Sweden. They mostly focus on furniture that fits in like apartments. You don't go to IKEA to buy a big sprawling leather couch. It's like things that kind of make sense. You know, this fits nicely here and you can put all this together and you're in a 100 square foot room and things still look good. That's a good idea. The next one is a plan. So you have an idea. I think I'll make furniture that fits really well in small spaces. Then you have a plan. I know who can manufacture it and I know how to get it out to the world. We're going to create these pretty good sized box stores where you walk in and you kind of follow a path all the way through a lot of square foot kind of warehouse space. And as you're looking at everything, you're thinking, I might like that. It's kind of the way it works at IKEA if you haven't been there. And you pop out at the end where you kind of like check out and order your furniture, and you also get great food. Students like the meatballs. Consistent, who knows what that is? Execution of the plan. The SBDC, SBA, SCORE, and GOED are organizations that support entrepreneurs. Consistent execution of the plan. Let's go back to that. One of my students said, you're going to execute the plan? I go, yeah, you're going to put it on a chopping block and cut off its head. Execution of a plan, though, simply means once you've got that plan in place, make sure you're hitting all the points that really make it work. If you're putting together a burger, we were talking about the Big Mac jingle. If you're putting together the burger, which is 2 all-beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions on a sesame seed bun. That was the old jingle that stuck in everyone's head in my generation. Then you got to make sure you have all those components, that the meat is refrigerated or frozen. Actually, they're not frozen. McDonald's meat is refrigerated at the right temperature. It's cooked to the right temperature. It's the same burger every time. That was the plan of McDonald's, to be consistent. Execute that Big Mac just perfectly. I don't know if you guys have been to the dugout. I'm going to throw Wendy's under the bus. At times when they were starting up that Wendy's at the dugout, I think I got a wrong order 4 out of 5 times. So I got to the point, because a lot of times it was a takeout, I got to the point where I'd go like this, and I go, okay, where's my fries? Execute. Come on, people, execute. I'm supposed to have some fries. Okay, back to the SBDC, etc. I only know about SCORE and SBA. I've actually gotten a couple of SBA loans, Small Business Administration. We'll go into those maybe in just a little bit of research, or you can research them on your own. Let's see, the next one. Come up with an entrepreneurial idea. It can be a product, service, or a combination of both. Create a visual presentation to introduce your idea and describe the following. So this is going to be one of your first assignments. But what you're going to describe is what need or problem does the good or service solve? You're going to look for something that people want fixed in their lives. Are you the kind of person that when you walk into a room and a picture is hanging kind of crooked, that you got to fix it? It's kind of that attitude that you have about saying, okay, something needs to be fixed here, and people will buy it to fix it. So what pain are they in that you're going to relieve? And it can be a good or a service. A good meaning it is something tangible, and a service means you're mowing someone's lawn. What are the features and benefits of your idea? So with benefits, you want to list all the things that you do to make it better, to make their lives better. By getting this product, you will have this and this and this and this and this. It's kind of funny because in a lot of commercials, they associate happiness with the product. And they might associate something simple. Let's say if you get a diamond necklace, I'm just throwing something out there, it will make your life so much better. You look prettier. You attract men. You wear nicer dresses because it's always associated with it, or nicer clothes, but you're picturing this elegant evening out. You're in an evening, I'm a man, you're in an evening gown with a diamond necklace and this awesome man that looks like James Bond in a tuxedo, and you're driving not a Rolls Royce necessarily, but maybe a Mercedes or a BMW, or let's make it a Maserati or a Lamborghini. And it's all by association. Therefore, you need this diamond necklace to be happy. But whatever the benefits are that you get from the product or service, and I hope they're actually a little more realistic and meaningful and needful. Who is the target market for this good or service? Target marketing involves breaking a market into segments and then concentrating your marketing efforts on one or a few key segments consisting of the customers whose needs and desires most closely match your product or service offerings. My son recently said that he's starting to believe in this kind of keto diet where you have lower carbs. He has found in his research that too many carbs create inflammation, and yet we eat a ton of carbs, and a lot of the carbs come from grains, and a lot of baby food, and he has a baby, is high in carbohydrates. So he's thinking to himself, this whole idea of carbohydrates and low fat is not really healthy, especially for babies. So someone ought to make a baby food that is higher in fat and, of course, less man-made chemicals. You've heard all these things. People have told you probably a lot of your life, stop eating so much candy, or stop drinking Red Bull, or whatever it is that most people would consider unhealthy. Well, okay, great. Is the target market for, let's just call it baby food, all right? Is the target market for his specialized brand of baby food you teenagers? Are you his target audience? No. The target audience isn't even the babies, right? The target audience is the mothers. So if you go to like a young mother's class instead of an entrepreneurship class, and it's young mothers who are 18 to 20 years old who have babies and they're learning the skills of being a mother, and you say this is healthy baby food, then yeah, they're going to kind of say probably, especially since they're in a stage where they can listen and learn something that is different than their mothers may have learned, okay? Because that's what the changing, I'm going to call it a fad. The changing fad is to go from the high carbohydrates to the higher fats, okay? A lot of people are looking at this keto diet. So that would be a good target audience, but conversely, I wouldn't go to housewives necessarily and try to sell them hunting knives, okay? I have a student that's interested in developing something related to a hunting knife, and unless that, quote, young mother housewife is going to buy something for her husband or boyfriend, it's not likely that that's the target audience, right? Something about talking about young mothers with babies and hunting knives doesn't really mesh. Okay. What are the largest consumers in any target market, though? If you know what I'm trying to say here. Are they teenagers? Are they babies? Are they housewives? Are they men? Housewives, right? probably upwards of 80% of all the products sold are purchased by housewives. And it doesn't necessarily sound right to say it that way. It sounds like I'm just trying to target a group as if, as if it's some kind of segregation. But that's not what I'm saying at all. I'm very open-minded that there are men that stay at home and take care of all the household needs. That's fine. But I think it's probably still about 80% that the woman does a lot of the product buying, even for the man, the teenager, the kid, right? Probably a lot of you teenagers going back to school got the whole wardrobe thing figured out because of mom. You might have said, this is what I want. I want these cool jeans. I want this cool top. I want these shoes. You might have said all that kind of stuff, but I'll bet mom was involved. Okay. Next thing it says is, the beauty of target marketing is that by aiming your marketing efforts at specific groups of consumers, it makes the promotion, pricing, and distribution of your products and or services easier and more cost effective. So once you know where you're going, like I said, you're going to the young mothers class, that's easier. It's easier than trying to say, oh, how am I going to reach the masses? How am I going to get to the businessman in China? Well, that's not what you're doing with baby food, right? You figured out that market segment. And number 4 there says it provides a focus to all your marketing activities. Now you know who your target audience is. We're going to talk about demographics and psychographics and all that stuff. Now you know how to focus on just getting your message to them. And it doesn't hurt that your message goes out to the whole world, but you want to realize most of the money and time and effort you spend are going to go to the ones that are really going to buy your product or service. It says here, so if for instance a catering business offers catering services in the client's home, instead of advertising with a newspaper insert that goes out to everyone, after identifying the target market for their services, the catering company could target the desired market with a direct mail campaign, a flyer delivery that went only to residents in a particular area, or a Facebook ad aimed at customers within a specific geographic area, increasing the return on investment on their marketing and bringing in more customers. So that's the famous thing we talk about, and newspapers really aren't that big of a deal anymore. Here locally we have Serve Daily that we still advertise in. We have the Daily Herald, and we have the Payson newspaper that I just forgot the name of. It's been nicknamed the Payson Onion. How about that? There's marketing. Anyway, there's 3 newspapers, well, and I think there's also like the Thrifty Nickel and other things like that, but honestly not too many people subscribe to a newspaper anymore, and so it's not as applicable. But if we went back 20 years and a lot of people got the newspaper, if you just put an ad in a newspaper, you don't know if you're getting exactly to that target audience. And let's go with teenagers. I don't know if we really did. Let's say that it's really cool to get a custom-made skateboard, all right, or longboard. Custom-made skateboard or longboard probably wouldn't be interesting to housewives, to babies, to businessmen. It's pretty much teenagers. So going in the newspaper isn't that great of an idea. Did they have other ideas that weren't so good? Even the direct mail campaign may not be that good of an idea, because maybe the mail will come specifically to a teenager. But you have to say, where would I reach the teenagers? There actually was a time, believe it or not, when Facebook would have been pretty good. I'm thinking right now, though, Instagram and TikTok. There's one other social media thing that you guys all look at. Anyway, those are probably much better. And even YouTube. YouTube is still really big. Okay. That way, for whatever effort you're putting in to reach them, you'll get a better return on the investment of your time and money. Social media platforms such as Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram have sophisticated options to allow businesses to target users based on market segments. So they know, all these social media platforms that you guys look at, they know that they're really in existence to get a message out, and they hope that they will have people that'll pay money to use their commercial services to pitch a product. That's how they make money. And then of course when you pitch a product on their service, if it works, you make money, and so everyone's happy, right? Okay, moving on. To target customers, you should determine their demographics. This is where we talk about demographics. It's always talked about in every marketing meeting you'll ever be in. Demographic grouping is based on measurable statistics such as, and this is where you got to take some time to write all these down, but I'm not going to give you the time, so you're going to pause the video or whatever. I'm just going to move through them. Gender. Gender may not be as big of an issue anymore because we're crossing a lot of lines there, aren't we? Male and female. There's still a lot of people that buy specifically because there's something that interests them as a male or something that interests them as a female. Age. Yeah, I'm probably not the guy that's going to buy a skateboard. I'm not completely out of that. It sounds interesting. It might be fun, but my age would say don't market to me. Market to teenagers. Income level. So, am I likely as a school teacher, am I likely going to buy a Tesla, a Lamborghini, a Maserati, a Rolls Royce, a Mercedes, or even a BMW? Not as likely as someone who has twice my income level. Are you as a student, are you likely going to buy your own diamond necklace? Or if you're a man, are you going to buy that gold watch? Not as likely with your income level. Marital status, that's spelled M-A-R-I-T-A-L, marital status. Actually, I'm going to go back to income a little bit. So, yeah, the very rich buy yachts and private jets. But again, conversely, what do the very poor buy? So and they still spend money, right? That's why there's probably dollar stores. I like to save money, so if I find something at the dollar store and I save money, I'm cool with that. So you think about what things need to be at a low price point, and if you get something that people want and it's at a low price point, you make just as much money as the guys that are buying the rich stuff. Okay, coming back to marital status. Again, probably not as much of an issue or a factor anymore, but does a single person buy the same things as a married person? Who is more likely going to buy? This is, again, knowing your demographics. Education. The more educated are probably, let's say, they're more interested in reading, and so maybe they will read a newspaper or magazine ad. So there's one way that you think you're going to reach them. And what do the more educated people buy? What do the more educated people do? The more educated people are probably interested in putting money in a college fund for their kids because they went to college. So all those kinds of things. The less educated, a lot of times we use the term blue-collar workers. Not that they don't make a lot of money. I've got a lot of friends that are blue-collar workers that are making more than me as a teacher. And their buying habits might be a little bit different. Let's see, the race. I personally don't think there is any such thing as race. That's talking about basically your skin color or your ethnicity. As far as skin color goes, that's happen chance, and some French guy, I forgot his name, came up with that way to determine or classify it. He called it, what race are you, like back in the 1800s, early 1800s, late 1700s. And started saying, okay, white, yellow, brown, red, black, whatever. However, there's also cultures associated with, quote, race. You could say that the Navajo Indian culture is not very much like the Harlem, New York culture. You could say the Utah culture with the, quote, predominant white race is not very similar to maybe Hong Kong or something like that. I don't know. So think about that as far as what is more likely for people to buy. And religion. R-E-L-I-G-I-O-N. I just talked about the Utah culture. I think the folks in Utah are a little bit more religious than in many other places. As a matter of fact, speaking about China, I sold a car once to a Chinese foreign exchange student going to BYU. And for some reason, the topic of religion came up as she was taking a test drive. And she just quickly said, In China, no religion. I said, oh, I thought there was something, you know, whether it was Buddha or what. No religion, no religion. And she was very quick to say it. So, I don't know if that affects or influences how she buys things. I think, quote, religious people tend to think about things like morals and what are sins, and are you going to try to pitch the religious people a crazy weekend in Las Vegas? Who knows? But maybe that's not your target audience. Are you going to pitch religious people on subscribing to, quote, R-rated movies for the family? Probably not, okay? All right, to target where the customers are, you determine geographics. And again, I just said that, right? Harlem, Navajo Reservation, Spanish Fork, Utah, Hong Kong, China. You determine where they live, and therefore you know kind of what their buying habits are according to there, and you know, do they even have stores they can purchase in, or is it all going to be mail order? To target your customers based on their lifestyle preferences or socioeconomic class is to determine psychographics. I don't think I talk about that too much, but I call that culture also. So a lifestyle preference. Are you a person who likes wearing really nice clothes even on your time off? Is that just kind of the way that you live your life? Or are you a person that just can't wait to get into shorts and flip-flops? You know, that could be a lifestyle preference. Are you the kind of person that just hangs out with family? Or are you the kind of person that's always trying to travel? Whenever you have free time, you want to travel to Hawaii. All right, target marketing case study, McDonald's restaurants. It seems like every business class I've ever been in, McDonald's comes up as a reference. We've already done it a couple times, haven't we? It says number 9, who is McDonald's targeting by offering play places, free Wi-Fi, Happy Meals that include toys such as Walt Disney characters? My answer is families and children who become lifelong customers. So obviously children, right, with the play places and the Happy Meals, but again, are they the ones that are purchasing? Are they the ones that are driving the car that gets the whole family to McDonald's? No. The overall decision is really adults taking care of their kids and wanting their kids to be happy. So you get families, and then the children become lifelong customers. They think of play places and Walt Disney characters and associate it with being at McDonald's. It's a miniature Disneyland. Number 10, targeted marketing combined with aggressive pricing enabled McDonald's to capture 25% of the fast food market share in 2001. You talk about market share, and I've got a really cool little animation I'm going to show you now. But it's your share of the potential customers. So if there's 1,000 people in Spanish Fork that are going to buy fast food today for lunch, how many of those are going to McDonald's? How many of those are going to Subway? How many are going to Wendy's? How many are going to Burger King? How many are going to Barry's? So McDonald's in 2001 had 25% of the fast food market share. I think that's worldwide. 25% of everyone that went to eat fast food. That's pretty good. That's domination. Now check out this animation. This is just for fun. I'm not even going to talk over the top of it. But watch how the fast food wars have gone. And you'll see, maybe you don't know this, maybe you do. You'll see one company that really started taking off. Okay, so we said they were targeting families and children. You know, if you get a family of 5, is that better than getting a teenager of 1? Yeah, 5 times the sales. However, recently McDonald's has altered their marketing strategy to target the millennial generation. Of course, when we say recently, this is probably 5 years old, but the millennial generation and now your Generation Z, by advertising fresher, healthier menu options. So, like I said with my son, and he's interested in, you know, this keto lifestyle, there's been a lot of talk about trying to cut out the fats originally, right? And now it's kind of switching back and saying fats are still good for you. It's misleading that fats are not. But, you know, they were offering what they thought people perceived as healthier foods, which included salads and maybe things that have less sugars in them. So they go fresher, healthier menu options and upscale coffee products such as espressos. That's kind of funny to me. It seems like they're on the opposite, because I personally don't think of coffee as a healthy drink. So you're offering coffee espressos with caffeine and sugar and crap, and then you got salads. That's me. No idea will be successful if it doesn't solve a problem or take care of some basic needs. List in detail the problem that your product or service is trying to solve. So now I say here, list in detail the problem that your product or service is trying to solve. Whether it's you that has had this problem and you're saying, man, I really wish someone would solve this problem for me, and now you're saying, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm going to fix this problem. Or if it's just something you think will work for others, you got to put yourself in that position and really define the problem. Write that down there. And now I ask you to go into that whole drill of demographics, psychographics, geographics. I want you to describe your customer segments, their demographics. What age are they? You got to think this through. What gender, income level, marital status. You could put it by percentage if you want to. You could break it down and say, I think my main consumer is age 18. And so you say 50% of them are age 18. 25% are 19, 25% are 17. You can do something like that if you want to. Again, you can say 70% are female, 30% are male. Income level, let's say we're going for teenagers like I've been saying, right? So income level for someone who is 18 years old, probably part-time job still, probably, because there's schooling and all kinds of stuff involved. I would say $20,000 a year is pretty good, like a pretty good amount of money for someone that age. So you might say $15,000 to $20,000 a year part-time, and then 20,000 to $30,000 a year full-time. Who knows? That's probably pretty close. You think it through. Marital status, you'd probably say 90% single and 10% married. You can decide how you want to write it out there. I will grade you favorably for any thought that you put into it. Psychographics, what are their values? What do 18-year-olds value? What are their beliefs? What are their politics? We happen to be on an election year as I'm recording this, and the politics could be, have you liked what Trump has done for the country or have you not? He's polarized people. Very controversial character. So are most 18-year-olds in your target audience anti-Trump? Are they Democrat? Are they Republican? Does that influence how they buy? Are they some kind of pro-rights? Are they the kind that would go and protest because of some police brutality? Those kinds of politics. Geographics, places where they live. Are you selling just to your home market because that's what you know best? Or is this something that you think is going to go across the world? And where do they live, your consumers? The environment in which they live. I had said before, are you living in Spanish Fork? Are you living in Harlem, New York? Are you on a Navajo reservation? Are you in the desert? Like I said, big city? Are you in a cold climate, a warm climate? Behavioral, how they buy. I think I told you before, I've got a son that almost never leaves the house. He's got a job from home. He even orders freshly food delivered to him. And I'm serious when I say he can go 2-3 days without even leaving. Well, he'll take his dog for a walk without ever starting up his car. So he buys on Amazon and online and almost everything he does. On the other hand, are there people that only go to a grocery store to buy your product? Are they those kinds of shoppers? And then how do they spend their time? This can help in strange ways. You might not think that. Like I've said before, do they like to bowl? Do they like to golf? Do they just sit at home with their family? Are they Netflix watchers? Are they gamers? How do they spend their time? And all of a sudden you go, wait a minute, gamers. Can I advertise on some gaming platform? You know, so all of a sudden something might come to your mind when you think about how they spend their time. Social graphics. Where are your customers online? If we were talking about 18-year-olds, you can really target 18-year-olds online. That finishes that section.
You know, working the real world, I would say, you know, it is important to be well-rounded. It's important to, you know, try different things, you know, take some risks, and you want to aim high enough that you fail, you know, a few times. I think that's the natural part of the process. If you work on really difficult things, you're better off because you have no competition. Others aren't working on that difficult a problem. And even if you fail, you end up doing something great in the process.
My advice to the young people, any mistake is a wonderful revenue for you. So I tell myself and told my young people, before 20 years old, be a good student. When you do entrepreneur, just learn some experience. Before 30 years old, follow somebody. Go to a small company. Normally in a big company, it is good to learn processing. You are a part of a big machine. But when you go to a small company, you learn the passion, you learn the dreams. You learn how to do a lot of things at one time. So before 30 years old, it's not which company you go, it's which boss you follow. It's very important. A good boss teaches you differently. From 30 to 40 years old, you have to think very clearly, you're working for yourself if you really want to be an entrepreneur. When you're 40 to 50 years old, you have to do all the things that you are good at. Don't try to jump into the new area. It's too late. You may be successful, but the rate of dying is too big. So 40 to 50, think about how can you focus on things that you are good at. But when you are 50 to 60 years old, work for the young people because young people can do better than you. So rely on them, invest on them, making sure they're good.
I've told a lot of people, it doesn't matter how many times you fail, if you get it right, you're an overnight success. All you gotta do is get it right one time.
I mean, the thing about being an entrepreneur is it's just all to you. You know, a lot of people like to make excuses. I don't have connections, I don't have money, I don't have this, but you know, if you find something that you like to do or love to do, be great at it and see if you can turn it into a business. In worst case, you're going to have fun doing what it is you love to do. In best case, you can turn it into a business. I'm just not big on excuses. I just think if you really, everybody has that opportunity to go for it. They just got to do it.
You know, I sold powdered milk and that was a disaster. I had my senior year project in Indiana was opening up a bar that got closed because of a wet t-shirt contest with a 16-year-old. That was a disaster. That was good because it kept me out of the bar business. I got fired from my first job in the software business because I wanted to close the deal instead of coming in and sweeping the floor. You know, it didn't matter how many times I failed. I just kept on going and going and going. And entrepreneurs need to realize that sometimes it's not the idea, it's not who you know, it's not how much money you have access to. It's really finding something that you really love to do. I had no idea I loved computers and technology, none. I mean, I took one class in Indiana in computers and I cheated to get through it. It was Fortran, and then I bought a little PC, a 99 4A from Texas Instruments for $99. Started teaching myself to program and found, you know, 4 hours later, 5 hours later, I would look up and I'd been working this entire time and I loved it. And so that was the difference. When I failed a lot of times and I didn't know where I'd find my success, and then all of a sudden I started playing with PCs and technology and it just clicked.